we can spend today's time going through the guide, or we can continue on to the submission to OMB for the SSDF attestation form. The where's the chat window? The link to the RFC for the attestation form is in the chat window. Or like I said, we can revisit the we can revisit the guide, whatever you think would be most useful. We have until well, we basically have like 2 weeks essentially for the 2.5 weeks for the before this submission is due.
One thing that I ran into was, if I mention attestations, people ask like hey, where can I go to learn a little more about the project? It is right now is the only way to go, like watch YouTube videos of our meetings.
Yeah, pretty much. We've got that, and we've got the Word. Yeah, we've got the one Word document that we originally started out with. And then of course they can go to the repository. But it's kind of one of the reasons why we were working on the guides, right? What is it? Why do you need it?
Can people get to the guides? I shared a link and people couldn't access it.
No. I should maybe open that up a little bit. Let's see.
I don't see what it hurts. It's if somebody wants to read it and maybe we could put a note on each of the pages that says, hey, this is all draft. But I'm always like, I always try to open everything up, and like,
yeah, there was some
a lot of people want control.
reasons with that other foundation that we decided not to open it up initially, but now that the first guide is out and they don't do anything else regarding all the other capabilities, I think it'll be fine to kind of open this up.
Cool. You never know, somebody might contribute something.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Change repository visibility. Change to public. Yes, I want to make public.
Awesome. Man, I love getting things done.
Yes. Less notes to take. Just get shit done.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I don't know about you, the more notes I take in terms of like, oh, this is a to-do, this is a to-do, the less likely I am actually to do them.
It's interesting. I just hit the link. It says this repository is temporarily unavailable. It is moving to a newer, better home.
Really? You must have hit a race condition right there.
Yeah. Oh, there
try
it is.
it. Try it now.
Now it seems done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So open for all now.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Yeah, so the attestation guides, I mean, that's obviously just a bunch of work in progress. But I'd like to finish that off in February sometime. So that way when we release 1.6 under the OWASP, banner, we can also release the guides along with it, just like when we released 1.5. We simultaneously released the authoritative guide to SBOM, which in itself actually got a fair amount of positive publicity. Great, good feedback on that.
It's authoritative.
Right, because it says so, right?
I think it's brilliant. You just yes, that is authoritative. I'm going to put that word in everything I publish from now on. Add to whatever I'm talking about.
The authoritative authority on authorities.
Exactly. It's brilliant.
So yeah, we've got the cover for that to the authoritative guide to attestations. Implement machine readable standards and requirements to digitally transform audit and attestation workflows. I don't know if that's a good subtitle or not, but that's the current working one that we have. So let's why don't we do this? Why don't we since we don't have a lot of time for the attestation feedback form, let's dive into that then.
Hmm,
That's going to be due before the guides are going to be due. The guides we can continue doing offline.
yeah. What is, uh, so one other topic we might consider is tooling.
Mm,
Because, we get to February and we launch this thing, there's still no tools to either read or create these
right,
attestations, right?
right. Yeah, we actually had a talk regarding attestations in a recent dependency track maintainers call. So we meet like once a month, I think it is. Um, Ian, if LM ever wants to, start contributing to that in a substantial way, we can kind of invite you guys over to that channel. Lots of activity going on there.
Yeah,
But
sounds good.
anyway, yeah, but anyway, there was a little bit of discussion in dependency track maintainers call about attestations. One of the guys actually brought it up because it's based on Cyclone and dependency track natively ingests and processes Cyclone. Um, and there was obviously some things that would be positive in terms of dependency track supporting that. There's probably a few more negative things why it shouldn't support it. But um, I think regardless of what the outcome will eventually be, I think having dependency track actually integrate with a um, system that can consume, process, analyze attestations in an automated way will help dependency track and other systems like dependency track start to evaluate supplier risk. And that is just one piece of evidence that you can use in evaluating that supplier's risk. Um, it may not belong in dependency track in terms of a source of truth. Um, I think the use cases are very, very different. For example, at my employer, um, my team is kind of chartered with among a lot of other things like threat modeling. We're also chartered with like SSDL type maturity, which SSDF attestations kind of falls under. So my team, we actually have like a BSIM app that we use, and
Hmm,
we collect evidence and we measure each business unit's maturity independently from the others, and we can compare, one BU to another or one BU over time and maintain all that evidence. And we'll probably end up extending that app to be able to include things other than BSIM like OWASP SAM, SSDF, other things. But we need a more robust mechanism in order to manage all that evidence, that evidence lifecycle. And
yeah,
it doesn't do that very well today. The other thing I really want to be able to introduce to the app is um, the ability to um, receive signals, for lack of a better word, like the ability to monitor, hey, are you doing static analysis? Are you looking at the results? Are you using custom rules, right? These are BSIM behaviors, for example, or do you have a PCERT function, or do you have yearly security training for your developers? Being able to have API integrations or just monitor for different types of events in the environment, so that we can use as much automation as possible. Because the one thing I don't want to do is, for every given release, I don't want to have to manually do a full attestation.
Right.
That's not what I want to do. Yet I need accurate and just-in-time evidence. So my team is actually going to be building something, but quite honestly, there's a need for this type of thing in general. And one of
Sure.
the things that we talked about in at that dependency track maintainers call was, hey, if this ends up being something outside of dependency track, because dependency track is supposed to manage dependencies, it's not supposed to manage evidence and attestations and standards and requirements. That's not what it does. However, we can integrate with something, and should we build something and have it under OWASP? Maybe. I don't know.
Attestation track.
Right. Something.
It's different.
Exactly.
Named it security track or something, then we'd be fine.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it's a long-winded response to your question. We're going to need tooling. Yeah, you're right. Um, we're thinking about it. I'm sure others probably are as well.
And
So,
what's your plan? Would you create open source tools, or something you'd use internally, or something you'd release commercially?
well, I have to create something internally on the ServiceNow platform. I mean, we dog food to the nth degree at our company. So, um, I don't know if that will make it to the ServiceNow store in any capacity or not. It might, and it might end up there in two different ways. One way would be the product organization actually taking ownership of it and maintaining it, once we get an initial MVP done. That would be the preferred way. Or two, we have this thing called the Innovation Lab. It's part of the ServiceNow store. Teams can publish things there, but there's no support. There's no expectation for support. So we might do that as well. Or it might just be internal. But I think there's certainly a need for a lot of companies to have this kind of system.
It's
I'd
really,
like,
I mean, this is like really like a CRUD app, right?
right.
Like very simple. So I'm wondering if there's anything we could staple it to in OWASP already, like, like Defect Dojo or
I
Threat.
don't think so, because one of the things that I really want to do is I want to leverage OpenCRE in a way where the evidence that I'm collecting can then automatically be then applied to different standards. I'm thinking of like maybe a large financial services organization, right, where you might have to do like not only PCI, but maybe a bunch of other things as well. So having CRE and a bunch of logic kind of in place to be able to use that evidence for multiple purposes.
For step one, right? Like I'm just thinking MVP here is to just have a place to store the evidence and the claims and the rest of it, like the rest of the whole structure, right? You just need a place to store it. And then probably like a CLI that you can invoke from wherever in your pipeline or your business or whatever. You just say like, CRXA, CDXA dash add, and you say some requirement name and some evidence or something, and just like sticks it into a database structure. Like eventually, I think absolutely you could leverage the what's that thing called? It's the CRX, the OWASP CRE.
Oh, seriously, yeah,
You could leverage CRE to like say like, hey, how close am I to meeting a PCI standard based on what I got and where are my
right.
gaps and stuff like that. But like, seems like step one is just like basic, like store the evidence and then eventually generate the attestation.
I think step one, I think we maybe have different views on maybe what step one is. I mean, you're coming at I think it from a purely like a developer centric type of thing, right? I think step one, in my view, step one is going to be for those non-technical users. Because I think a lot of like audit type folks are going to be doing SSDF attestations, and introducing a command line tool is just going to be like introducing a foreign language to them.
Yeah, that's true. How would you suggest they generate CDX? Yeah,
Well, the system would have to do it for them, right? So you'd have a UI that you would be able to like
just
import
type
site.
it.
Yeah, you'd be able to import, for example, standards in CycloneDX format. Once the standards are in the system, you'd be able to attest to all the different requirements, again, all in the UI, by supplying the evidence and managing the claims, managing the signatures in a user interface.
Yeah,
And then you could export that attestation in Cyclone. I don't think it would be
yeah.
overly hard.
No, that's easy. That's like I would probably make a web app, right? With like a
Right.
questionnaire style interface and yeah.
I don't think it would be hard. But yeah, I was going for the non-technical user because I think I might be wrong, but I think a lot of the audit type folks would probably be um, put in charge of doing SSDF attestations.
No, you're right. It's just that kind of the process we got today, right? And you're
Right.
not really taking advantage of the machine readable aspect of it. Like it helps from producer to consumer, but not from like the real producer of evidence. Like we got the last mile problem. And I
Yeah. And then, once you get to that
said
MVP
maybe it's
part, then you could have a bunch of APIs that then you could feed evidence to, right? Because that's
exactly.
where you want to go. That's where you want to go. You don't want to have like a human being start entering manually all this evidence. That's insane.
No, I just want
But
it to be
if you could have,
simple.
yeah,
And all the evidence is really like a link to somewhere else, right? Like
yeah,
it's
in a lot of
not
cases, yeah,
evidence, just text. It's like you point to some document or some URL somewhere.
or attaching a document, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you just need a database and a web app, really. Like that's kind of what SIS is building anyway, right? Like they're gonna have a web app that you go to, answer a bunch of questions, say you sign it, and then they're gonna generate a PDF, which I guess then they just store as a PDF.
Right, right,
But that's their process,
yep,
from what I understand.
yeah. So, um, if anyone is interested in kind of gathering a few contributors, maybe starting a project, open source, I'm sure it would be very welcome. I'm my time capacity is I'm gonna enjoy it while I can before January 1st, because after that the OWASP board is going to be asking for more and more time.
Yeah. Well, so in order to get people on board, we've got a lot of assets. We've built enough that people will join the project to be part of it. Like that was always my experience at OWASP, and this is probably good guidance for you as you're on the board. Like you you got to build something, and then it's got to be something enough that people will join on and say like, oh, I want to be part of that. And then you can really build up a big community. And sometimes I was successful at that. Sometimes I wasn't. Um, you know, but projects that like are just one person doing it on their own, they never make it. And you know this, but I think we've got enough here to get a somebody to build a website like that. I don't know where they put it or where it would live. Um,
Yeah.
is there could they go to a Cyclone URL somewhere? Like, is there a cyclonedx.org? I thought there was.
Yeah, I mean we've got our own domain, and then a couple We've got a couple variations of our domain that we've registered. You know, I think we've got the .net, the .com, the .dev.
Yeah, maybe we could
Um,
just pick one of those and make it like
yeah,
attestations.cyclonedx.org,
that would be interesting.
cyclonedx.org/attestations or something. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
actually a really good idea. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just for like a proof of concept MVP type of thing, without like being a full OWASP project.
yeah, I just think like, having people being able to use it that way will be a lot more effective than them just like looking at a bunch of JSON and going like, I don't understand this.
No, no, no. Yeah, I would never do that to them. That would be cruel and unusual punishment. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can always stand up a subdomain. That's fine. Um, well, maybe after we get this response done and the guides or the guide, then maybe we can start working on a Google Doc, start capturing the requirements for what it is that we want to build, and seeing if we can maybe get some contributors to help us build it. I'm sure if we ask the right folks, we'll probably make some progress.
I agree.
Okay.
I think it's kind of like off topic, so I apologize if we wanted to further conversation.
Hmm.
Jeff, you mentioned the CISA system. Does anyone have insight into what they're actually doing there in terms of building that centralized repository?
I mean, all they said was that that it would be if you scroll down in this document that we're looking at,
Yeah.
it says um, oh wait, no, this is our, sorry, this is our letter to
This is
them.
ours, yeah.
It looks so nice. I thought it was from System.
Oh,
It's got a logo on there and everything. Jesus. Um, I think I have a link here to it now. Hmm. So they have a thing on the form itself that says, oh yeah, it says the inserting instructions like software producers can submit this form by either downloading and completing a fillable form at some URL and clicking the submit button at the bottom of the last page, or they can save the complete form as a PDF and then fill in this. I don't know. It's maybe that's not a website. Maybe that's just like downloading a fillable PDF file. That's probably what it is.
that's what it sounds like.
But it says clicking the submit button at the bottom of the last page. I feel like that's a fillable form at some URL. But then they say downloading and completing, but I think that might just be a
It,
screw up.
it might actually generate the PDF for you dynamically based on what you enter on the website, would be
I
my
think that's what
guess.
it is. It's like a website that you go to and it's got forms to fill out, and then you fill it out, you hit submit, and you get a PDF.
Right.
Or it just automatically submits it to, it doesn't say it actually saves it. The other one, there's the online form one, and then there's the other instructions like local PDF instructions, where you just save it and you give it a particular file name, and then you email the completed PDF to some email address at CISA. Ugh.
Yeah. Did they ever cover, I don't know if they did or not, but did they ever cover like how they're going to handle signatures. Are they going to like support like handwritten signatures, like images that are embedded in the PDF versus like Adobe style digital signatures that are stamped on the PDF?
Let's see.
Those are two very different things.
Oh, I totally agree. Um, it doesn't really say, it only mentions signature in one section, section 3, and it says it lists the specific attestation. I attest that, Jeff Coe presently makes consistent use of the following practices derived from SSDF in developing the software identified in section 1. And then it lists out the requirements. And then it says signature of CEO, and then there's a little note here in angle brackets that says, note, this form will be digitally signed. Which I don't know if signing a PDF file is really that useful. If it can have code in it, like we used to, you write a macro that changes the content of the document, even though it's signed, it displays differently later. I don't know if that helps too much.
Yeah, it just sounds like an exercise in paper automation.
Yeah, yeah, they're obviously taking a paper model and trying to make it digital. But I I don't know if I'd want to be them for this. Like, they could get a gazillion forms. Like, you can do this either for a product or a business line or a whole company. And seems to me companies are going to not want to do this for every product that they create, right? Because it's too risky. Like, you got one project somewhere that's not doing it, and like all of a sudden you're screwed. So then you're doing one for every product you got and shipping that in. And that could be hundreds, thousands per company.
Ian's like, yep, I know.
You have a few products over there, Ian?
Yeah, we're a few thousand. Yeah, you.
I'm sitting over here complaining about the handful that I have. I can't even imagine.
And I think we already made clear, we listed out in our memo here some of the naming problems that they're going to run into that they don't know about yet.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow, despite Tom Ulrich's weekly barrage of lengthy treatises on the subject.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of conversations in the Slack channel too, but I don't think he even uses the Slack. So,
no.
And I rarely look at my email. So,
is that right? Good for you.
I don't. Yeah, I still got like 400 NREDs at my my employer I got to go through eventually. Yeah, that's just in the last 2 days. It's just crazy.
Yeah, well, wait till you're the chair of OWASP.
Right. Oh man. Okay. Where do we leave off at? Let's see. We looked at this cost reduction. Suppliers are required to maintain a body of evidence which will be available upon request if supporting material. Okay. Yep. Yep. Future proof.
So I have a suggestion here. This is high level guidance, but I took some classes at Georgetown Law about how to deal with agencies. And, they have notice and comment periods. They do accept input, but they're not very good at reading the input and digesting it. And so the guidance that I got was, you need to be real succinct with real concrete suggestions. And what they told me was, you always want to have 3 recommendations, pretty, like positioned on the middle of the front page of your, you can back it up with all kinds of, data and whatever, but like on the front page, we need like strong recommendations of what CISA should do. We recommend that CISA colon 1, 2, 3, and just like, let's figure out what our recommendations are at that level. And then we can have, like we can have a bunch more pages and stuff, but
Yep.
like, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I think number 1 is probably, we recommend that they adopt a machine readable attestation format or something. Since we're the only one, we recommend it's us. And we might want to just mention a couple benefits of that, like this will help scale and I don't know, just keep it real terse, like we can elaborate on them later. I think maybe another one is like somehow deal with naming. I don't know if that happens naturally if you do machine readable attestation. Maybe it does.
Um, how about, let's see, something along the lines of,
Hmm.
is it IG or EG? I can never remember the difference between the two. For
EG
example,
means, for example, IE means id est,
IE.
that is.
What does IE mean again?
Id est, it means that is. So if you're going to say it
Ah,
in another way, like in the future, i.e. tomorrow,
got it. Okay.
EG is an example. Um, I'm not, do you think SS, do you think CISA cares about attestations to other stuff besides SSDF? I mean,
They eventually will with the
they
AI
certainly
stuff.
will eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why limit it? Like right now, I mean, so it's fine for them to look at SSDF right now, but by limiting their process to only an SSDF form makes it difficult to expand it to other standards that will be needed for different kinds of systems.
Right.
You know, I would love to see more attestations from like, nuclear power industry or the voting, like the election systems industry, like. And they're also limiting themselves to self-attestation, right? And
Yeah.
there's no reason that they would have to do that.
Well, I mean, you got the 3 PAOs. I mean, that's still technically a self-attestation. You're just paying another vendor to do it for you.
For the record, I just looked it up. We got to send this in by December 18th.
Yeah, so I've got the 17th at the top here. So I
Oh,
like to
nice.
send it in the day before.
But CycloneDX attestations supports the third-party attestation as well, and there's no reason that CISA shouldn't accept a third-party attestation. And well, that should be better, right, than self-attestation? Like you get a third party to vouch. And I think there's a thriving industry in third-party attestations, right? Like companies like Coalfire that do PCI assessments, consulting companies that do compliance kind of work. Like by making it a self-attestation, they might inadvertently be shutting out most of the people who can do this work well.
Well, that's why the 3 PAOs are in there as well.
I'm not familiar with that.
They're the 3 PAOs, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but I mean, these are basically like FedRAMP approved type organizations that kind of serve as like an audit function. They'll go into like your FedRAMP environment and perform an audit. Those same approved organizations are authorized to do SSDF attestations. So it's technically going to still be a self-attestation, but that supplier would be paying a 3 PAO to do it for them. But the 3 PAO is the one that ultimately signs off on it, I think. Because if it's a true first-party attestation self, then it's the CEO or COO or the I guess director, whomever, a representative of the 3 PAO.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they use the word auditor, but yeah.
Auditor?
So it's
Okay.
a little ambiguous, but yeah. It doesn't necessarily need to be leadership within that org.
Yeah, so you can still pay someone to do it, like an experienced firm to do it for you. It's still technically a self-attestation because that supplier is sending it in themselves, to my understanding. The 3 PAO does not submit it for them. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a super fuzzy.
Why is it always so
Yeah.
fuzzy?
It's the government.
Um, Looking through the CISA page, and they did send out a memo on the types of comments that they're looking for. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's specifically on the form.
Right. But they asked for 4 specific types of feedback.
Hmm.
I'll share my screen real quick and we can
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
evaluate whether we're responsive. Can you see that?
Yep.
So this is from the request for comment on SSDF common out form. And it says OMB is particularly interested in comments which evaluate whether the I guess is this like the right information to collect? This one is the estimate of the burden accurate? I think it's not. Can they enhance the clarity of the form? Or the last one is, I think, where we live, which is minimize the burden of collected information in, through the use of automated electronic, mechanical, or other technological collection techniques or forms of IT, including electronic submissions of responses.
Right. That's what we're falling under.
Yeah, so we may want to quote that and say, hey, we're really responding to their fourth question.
I think we should scrap this and tell them they gotta do mechanical collection technique. See how that goes over.
Are punch cards available? Like
Yeah, right?
hanging chads?
I love it.
Oh man.
Ian's so dangerous. He's just sitting there like having terrible thoughts. Oh, rarely says them.
Overwhelm the system, right? It's the guy who shows up with like pennies to pay his phone bill, or whatever. Comcast bill.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to then add anything? We've got 2 bullet points. Okay, so you're adding that one sentence in response to boom. We recommend.
Yeah, I might just put a link to that
Yeah.
RF, whatever it is, RFC.
Yeah, I thought I had one in here, but it must be the other document. We're also working on the CISA, a response to the CISA software naming thing, and we'll have a response to that. OWASP will. But yeah, that document, I actually have the link to the request. I thought I had it in here, but I didn't.
All right, guys, I'm gonna drop. Good talking to you. See you next
All
week.
right. Cheers. All right.
Let's see it.
I think we can possibly remove these 2 sentences because we're covering it in the recommendations down here.
Which 2 sentences are you looking at? Oh,
The
I'm
ones that
actually
are,
looking at the document, not the,
what's that?
sorry, I'll go back to the Zoom. I was only looking at the
Oh yeah, no worries. I'm thinking about
documents.
getting rid of these 2 sentences because we're talking about recommending machine readable attestations, but we're also we've got that down here. So in bullet point format. So although we could potentially conclude with that.
What is this to do?
That
Oh,
was just kind of an introduction to what CycloneDX is.
yeah,
I don't think it belongs there. We can potentially, this is covered. He says this is covered at the end, but it could be moved up.
I see. What
I
if we
mean,
just put, like,
we can keep it at the end. That's fine.
what if we put something in the recommendation, like such as Cyclone DX attestations as described below? Something like that.
Right. Yeah, that works. Let me get rid of that then.
Is it just, it will just help CISA? I think it'll help.
Well,
all-
they're the ones requesting the information, so.
Yeah, but they want, I mean, it's not just for them, it's like everybody in the whole ecosystem
Sure,
benefit.
we can,
right?
yeah, no, we can drop that. We can drop CISA, that's fine. Because honestly, I don't know who's going to be running the system. It's going to be GSA or, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. And then what's that third bullet point going to be?
I don't know, we could just have one. Maybe it's more powerful if it's really just one.
Two?
Could have two.
Well, we've got two bullet points right now.
Yeah,
Do we need a third?
no,
Okay.
not necessarily.
Do we want to provide some positive feedback, not just negative?
I mean, we did a little bit. We said it represents a significant step forward to strengthening security of the supply chain and so on.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get rid of this until we can figure out if we want another one.
Yeah, maybe we'll remember something that we should recommend.
Right. Okay. Um, hey, this is already starting to take form. Almost like we've done this before.
Now, what are these sections on? What is this about? The scale section?
Um, this was about
Are these challenges?
yeah, we need some we need a paragraph before scale.
Yeah, like these are the three major challenges to
Right.
achieving attestation. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah, so
something
we need a paragraph before scale.
with. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
What does trust but verify mean?
This was the ability for um, the evidence to be accessible. Like, for example, you could theoretically supply like a CycloneDX attestation with all the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And if the entity that you're giving that attestation to wanted to verify that the evidence was correct, they could theoretically do so if you gave them access to it.
I see. So it's adding assurance to a self-attestation because the the consumer could actually check.
Right. And maybe that's the word that we use, assurance. Increase assurance instead of trust but verify.
Yeah, why don't we say the- maybe we can. Oh, so you think that's the challenge? Is achieving scale, achieving assurance, and
Right.
achieving
Yeah.
future proofedness?
Right. For lack of a better word, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it not just the US government can quickly assess the evidence, but any consumer?
Yeah. Any authorized consumer. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That works.
It's not in the, I'm hesitant to say in the self-attestation form. Oh, so the objectives in the self-attestation form, I see.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Automated due diligence. And future proof.
Yeah. If you come up with a better word, let me know.
Yeah, is it?
This is really about, well, it's SSDF today. It's going to be AI tomorrow. It's going to be something else the day after that. It's going to be a never-ending barrage of different types of attestations, all with different angles of the supply chain. What are you going to do, government? Are you going to create forms and processes for every single one? I don't think so.
Is it extensibility?
Extensibility. Ooh, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It's like, let's change it
Thinking
to that.
object-oriented. Yeah,
It's actually not extensibility that way. Like, it's just like how many things can you represent with the current set of standards? What we build is very extensible because you can add a new standard and
Mhm.
generate claims and assurance against it. So like it'll work for anything.
Right.
Now, in these sections, I think like inside scale, we should say the problem, and then we should say why machine readable attestation solves that problem. Is that, I'm not sure we have that structure here exactly.
Mm.
But these are
Okay.
three good problems. Like I love these. And but we have this list of machine readable attestation benefits below, where I'm afraid
Right.
these don't map exactly to the problems that we just laid out.
Right.
And we could just say this, we could say these offer several a variety of additional advantages. Like we're not
Right.
going to go into all that, but maybe I'll just change it to that.
Yep.
But I would think each of these, oh, and I do have to jump.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, well, this is some progress.
But yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Yeah, if we can wrap this up in the next 2 weeks, I think we'll be in really good shape. Hopefully, we'll do it by this time next week, actually, and we can submit it off early and start working on the guides again. 'Cause that's going to be more impactful to more people.
Do you have any objection to calling it CDXA?
No,
I started doing it, and then I realized, like, I don't know, maybe there could be some other CDXA already.
not
Okay,
that I know of. Yeah.
all right.
Okay, Jeff. Take care. Cheers.
Steve, have a good one.